At the sunset hour of one warm spring day, 2 men were to be seen at Patriarch's Ponds. The first of them, aged about 40, dark-haired and balding. The other, a young man with curly, reddish hair.
What were we talking about?
My poem.
Ah, yes, your poem. Ivan, there is not one Eastern religion in which an immaculate virgin does not bring a god into this world. You see, you've written a marvelously satirical description of the birth of Jesus, but the whole joke lies in the fact that there were a whole series of sons of God before Jesus. Of course, none of them existed, including Jesus, but according to you, the nativity really took place.
Forgive me for permitting myself without an introduction, but the subject of your learned conversation is so interesting that... well, may I join you? You see, unless I'm mistaken, you were saying that Jesus never existed, for you know?
No, you are not mistaken. I did indeed say that. If you excuse me.
And you do agree with your friend?
100%.
Astounding. Forgive me for being so rude, but am I right in thinking that you do not believe in God either?
Yes, neither of us believes in God, but we can say that with absolute freedom. If you would excuse
Are you atheists?
Yes, we're atheists.
Oh, how delightful.
You see, in our country there is nothing surprising about atheism. Many of us have long ago and quite consciously given up believing in all those fairy tales about God.
Allow me to thank you with all of my heart.
What are you thanking him for?
For some very valuable information, which
Yes.
as a traveler I find extremely interesting. But, you know, here is a question that disturbs me.
Yes.
If there is no God,
Yes.
then who, one wonders, rules the life of man and keeps the world in order?
It's very simple.
Man rules himself.
Precisely.
I beg your pardon, but to rule, one must have a precise plan, worked out for some reasonable period in the future, no? Allow me to inquire how man can control his own affairs when he cannot even predict what will happen to him tomorrow. Suppose, for example, a man decides to make a telephone call.
Yes.
A trivial matter, you may think, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, but he cannot. Because for no good reason, he suddenly jumps up and falls under a streetcar. Now, you're not going to tell me that he arranged to do that himself, huh? Wouldn't it be near the truth to think that someone else, quite different, was directing his fate?
Well, of course man is mortal.
But that is only half the problem. The trouble is that mortality comes to him so suddenly, huh? And he cannot even say what he will be doing this evening.
Ah, now there you exaggerate. I can tell you more or less exactly what I shall be doing this evening,
Yeah.
provided, of course, a brick doesn't fall on my head in the street.
A brick never falls on anyone's head.
Yes, it's...
You in particular are in no danger of that, I assure you. No, your death will be quite different.
I suppose you know exactly how I'm going to die. Would you like to tell me?
Certainly.
Oh, please.
1, 2, Mercury in the second house, moon waning. Accident 6, evening 7. Ha! Your head will be cut off.
By whom? Enemies? Foreign spies?
No, by a Russian woman.
That, if you don't mind my saying so, is highly improbable.
I beg your pardon, but it is so. You see, Anna has already bought the linseed oil. In fact, she has not only bought the linseed oil, but she's just now spilled it. So you see, this meeting cannot take place.
Excuse me. What on earth does linseed oil have to do with this? And who on earth is Anna?
I will tell you what linseed oil has to do with this.
Oh, good.
Have you, comrade, ever had to spend any time in a mental hospital?
Oh, yes, I have. I have, and more
Simica?
than once. Yeah. Where haven't I been? My only regret is that I didn't ask the good doctor what schizophrenia was.
Yes.
But you will find that out from him yourself, Ivan Nikolaevich.
How do you know my name?
My dear fellow, who doesn't know you? Ivan the poet of the people, huh? Your picture is in all the magazines. Oh, I beg your pardon. In the heat of our argument, I quite forgot to introduce myself. Here is a letter and a passport. The name is Volin, Professor Volin. There is my card if you wish to examine the documents.
Please, delighted. You've been invited here as a consultant, have you, Professor?
Yes, I have.
Yes. What's your particular field of work?
I specialize in black magic.
And you've been invited here to give advice on that?
Yes, I am the only specialist in the world. Jesus did exist, you know.
Professor, With all respect to you as a scholar, we take an entirely different attitude on that point.
It's not a question of having an attitude. He existed, that's all there is to it.
One must have proof.
No, there's no need for any proof. You see, it's really quite simple. Early on the morning of the 14th of the spring month Nisan, the procurator of Judea, Pontius Pilate, in a white cloak lined with blood red, emerged with his shuffling cavalryman's walk into the arcade connecting the two wings of the palace of Herod the Great. Pontius Pilate had awakened that morning with a terrible headache, an affliction with which he was often plagued.
Oh, gods. My head. My head. Oh, why do you torment me? The accused comes from Galilee.
Yes, Hegemon.
Bring in the accused. So, you've been inciting the people to destroy the Temple of Jerusalem.
Good man, believe me.
You call me good man, you are making a mistake. The rumor about me in Jerusalem is that I am a raving monster, and that is absolutely correct. You call a Roman procurator Hegemon, do you understand?
I understand.
Name?
Mine?
I know my own name.
Yeshua HaNostru.
So, you intended to destroy the temple building and incited the people to do so.
Never, Hegemon, have I intended to destroy the temple, nor have I ever tried to persuade anyone to do such a senseless thing.
It is clearly written down that you incited people to destroy the temple. Witnesses have said so.
These good people are unlearned, Hegemon, and they have confused everything that I've said. I'm beginning to fear that this confusion will last for a very long time.
It is written clearly.
There is a man who follows me everywhere with nothing but his goatskin parchment, and he writes incessantly. But I once caught a glimpse of that parchment, and I had not said a word of what was written there.
What man?
Matthew the Levite. He was a tax collector, and I met him on the road to Belphege. Well, at first he was very rude to me, but in the end he threw his money in the street and said he would go traveling with me.
Oh, city of Jerusalem, what tales you have to tell. A tax collector, do you hear? Throwing away his money in the street. So, did you or did you not make a speech about the temple to the crowd in the temple forecourt?
I spoke of how the temple of old beliefs would be torn down and how a new temple of truth would be built up. I used these words to make my meaning easier to understand.
And why should a tramp like you talk about truth? Something of which you have no conception. What is truth?
At this moment, the truth is chiefly that your head is aching. And aching so hard that you are having cowardly thoughts about death. Not only are you in no condition to see me, but it hurts you even to look at me. And this makes me seem to be your torture, which distresses me. You can't even think. And you can only long for your dog, who is clearly the only creature for whom you have any affection. But your pain will stop, and your headache will go. There. It's gone. And I am so glad. I would advise you, Hegemon, get out of the palace for a while. Go take a walk in the gardens or in Mount Elena. There'll be thunder later towards evening. A walk would do you a great deal of good, and I should be happy to go with you. Some new thoughts have just come into my head which you might find interesting. You strike me as a man of great intelligence. Your trouble is that your mind is too closed, and you finally lost your faith in human beings. You ought to admit nobody ought to lavish all of their affection on a dog. Your life is a cramped one, Hegemon.
Centurion, untie the vagrant's hands. Tell me, are you a great physician?
No, Procurator, I am no physician.
How did you know that I wanted to call my dog?
Well, quite simple. You moved your hands through the air as though to stroke something, and you moved your lips like you were calling something.
Yes, you are a physician. So you maintain that you never incited people to tear down the temple?
Never, Hegemon. Do I look weak in the head?
Oh, no, you do not. Very well. Swear that it is not so.
And what would you have me swear by?
Well, by your life. It is high time you swear by it, because you should know that it is hanging by a thread.
And do you believe, Hegemon, that it is you who have strung it up? If you do, you are mistaken.
I can cut that thread.
There, too, you are mistaken. You must admit that the only one who can cut that thread is the one who suspended it.
I now have no doubt that the idle gapers of Jerusalem have been pursuing you. I do not know who strung up your tongue, but he strung it well. Do you happen to know anyone called Dismas, or Hestis, or a third Barabbas?
I do not know these good men.
And now tell me, you always use this expression, good men. Is that what you call everybody?
Yes, everybody. There are no evil people on earth.
That is news to me. But perhaps I am too ignorant of life. Is that all there is?
No, Hegemon. Unfortunately, there is more.
Listen. Hanostri, do you know a certain Judas of Kerioth? And if you have ever spoken to him, what did you say to him about Caesar? When you speak, weigh every word.
The day before yesterday, I met a man outside the temple who called himself Judas from the town of Kerioth. He invited me to his house in the lower city, and he gave me supper.
Is he a good man?
Yes, a very good man, and very eager to learn. He expressed the greatest interest in my ideas, and he welcomed me joyfully.
Lit the candles?
Yes. He asked me for my views on the government. The question interested him very much.
And so what did you say? Are you going to reply that you have forgotten what you said?
No. I said, among other things, that all power is a form of violence exercised over people, and that the time will come when there will be no rule by Caesar, nor any other kind of rule, and that people will pass into the kingdom of truth and justice where no sort of power will be necessary.
There never has been, nor yet shall be, a greater and more perfect government in this world than the rule of the Emperor Tiberius. Leave me alone with this criminal. This is a case of treason. So, the men I see who beat you for what you preached, the robbers Dismas and Hestis and Barabbas who killed 4 soldiers, and finally this dirty informer Judas. These are all good men.
Yes.
And will the kingdom of truth come?
It will come here.
It will never come! I hate this city. If they had murdered you before your meeting with Judas of Kerioth, I really believe it would have been better.
You should let me go. I see now that they want to kill me.
Do you imagine, you miserable creature, that a Roman procurator could release someone who has said what you have just said to me? Or do you think I'm prepared to take your place? I don't believe in your ideas, and listen to me, if from this moment onward you say so much as a word or try to talk to anyone, beware. I repeat, beware. Be quiet! Here! I confirm the sentence of death on the accused, Yeshua HaNostri. I will see High Priest Caiaphas now. Shall we go and find some shade, Caiaphas?
I cannot do that on the eve of a feast day, Hegemon.
I have considered the case of Yeshua HaNostri and have confirmed the sentence of death. Since it is the custom that one of the criminals be released in honor of Passover, which felon does the Sanhedrin propose to discharge? Barabbas or HaNostri?
The Sanhedrin requests the release of Barabbas.
I confess that your reply surprises me. HaNostri is clearly insane and is guilty of making some absurd speeches. But Barabbas made direct appeals to rebellion and killed a soldier while resisting arrest. I request you to reconsider and discharge the least dangerous of the 2 convicts, which is undoubtedly HaNostri.
The Sanhedrin has taken due cognizance of the case, Hegemon, and we shall release Barabbas.
High Priest, say it for a third
And
time.
for the third time, I say we shall release Barabbas.
Suffocato. Suffocato.
Yes, it is stifling today. There will be thunder later. The month of Nisan has been terrible this year.
No, that is not why I am suffocating, Caiaphas. I feel stifled by your presence. Beware, High Priest. The execution will be at noon. We have enjoyed this conversation, but matters must proceed. Very well, it is time. In the name of Imperial Caesar, 4 criminals have been condemned to the most shameful form of execution, crucifixion. Their execution will be carried out shortly on Mount Golgotha, in accordance with law and custom, in honor of the great feast of Passover. The Emperor Caesar, in his magnanimity, will render back to one of these convicted criminals his contemptible life. The name of the criminal who is about to be released before you: Bar-Abba.
Yes, it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, my dear Yvonne.
That was a very interesting story, Professor.
Oh, thank you.
But I'm afraid it differs completely from the accounts in the Gospels.
But surely you, Mikhail Berlioz, you of all people must realize nothing written in the Gospels actually happened, huh?
Yes, I agree, but I'm afraid there's no one here to prove the authenticity of your version either, so...
Oh, yes, I can quite easily confirm it.
Can you?
You see, I was there myself. Yeah, on the balcony with Pontius Pilate in the garden when he talked to Caiaphas on the platform, but I was there secretly, incognito, so to speak, so please, don't breathe a word of it to anyone. Keep it an absolute secret. Shh.
How long have you been in Moscow?
I have just this minute arrived here in Moscow.
Well, it's all possible, even probable. Pontius Pilate, the balcony, and so on. Did you come here alone or with your wife?
Alone, I am always alone.
Where's your luggage? Is it at the Metropole? Where are you staying?
I'll be staying in your apartment number 50, I believe.
I would be delighted. But I'm afraid my apartment's not very comfortable.
No.
The rooms at the Metropole are quite excellent. First class.
Is no such thing as the devil. And Mikhail, will you stop playing the amateur psychologist?
How interesting, huh? Whatever I ask you about, it simply doesn't exist, huh? So you think the devil doesn't exist?
Calm down, Professor, please. Let's behave as gentlemen, please. Remain here with Comrade Yvonne. I go around the corner and make a phone call, and then we'll take you anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, phone call, of course, we got there. But please, as a favor to me, at least say you believe in the devil, huh?
All right.
I'll be the same.
Looking for the turnstile of the streetcar, sir? Right this way, sir. Price of a drink for showing you the way, sir. Church choir master out of work, sir. Oh, here comes your train.
Oh my God, his head came off! Oh my God, his head came off! Oh my God, his head came off! Anna! It was our Anna! She was coming from Sadovia. She broke a jug of linseed oil. He slipped and has no head. Anna! It was our Anna! She was coming from Sadovia. She broke a jug of linseed oil. He slipped and has no head. Anna! It was our Anna! She was coming from Sadovia. She broke a jug of linseed oil. He slipped and has no head.
Anna. He said Anna had spilled the oil, and by God, Mikhail slipped on it. And what's more, is he said Berlioz would have his head cut off by a woman, and the streetcar driver was a woman. Who the hell is he? Confess! Who are you?
Sorry, Yanni Gavrilus, no stand.
He doesn't understand.
Don't pretend. Just now you spoke Russian perfectly well. You're no professor. You're a murderer and a spy. Show me your paper.
Now look here, comrade. What do you think you're doing upsetting this foreign tourist? You'll have the police after you.
Stop, you! Hey, you! Help me arrest this criminal. It's your duty.
A criminal? A foreign criminal? Where? That man there? Well, if he's a criminal, then the first thing to do is to shout, "Stop thief!" Otherwise he'll get away. Come on, let's shout together. 1, 2, 3.
Stop thief! So you're in league with him, Wham are you? Make fun of me, would you? No! I'm going to arrest you, too!
Yeah.
Hey, don't leave! Hey, villains, I'm going to catch you! Where'd they go?
House number 13, Yvonne.
I have an intuition. The professor is in house number 13. I'm sure he's here somewhere. Oh, an icon and a candle. Yes, these will protect me from the evil professor.
Yvonne, to the Moscow River, Yvonne, to the Moscow River.
The professor, he must be in the Moscow River!
To Griboyedov restaurant, Yvonne.
I must go to the Griboyedov restaurant! The villains are bound to be there! Hey, you! Have you seen the professor?
Yvonne, Miss Goldman, what are you doing in your underwear?
Found you!
Hey! Oh! He punched me in the face! Hey, you! Someone grab that man and tie him up! Take him away from here!
Good morning, Dr. Stravinsky. This is the famous poet, Ivan Bezdomny. We're afraid he may have the DTs.
Has he been drinking heavily?
No, he's had a few drinks, but not enough to...
Has he been trying to get spiders, rats, little devils, or dogs?
No, I saw him yesterday and this morning. He was perfectly well then.
And why is he in his underpants? Did you have to pull him out of bed?
He came into a restaurant like this, Doctor.
Uh-huh. And why the scratches? Has he been fighting?
He fell off a fence and then he hit someone in the restaurant. You see, Doctor, he witnessed an accident this evening at Patriarch's Pond. Mikhail Bulgakov, the chairman of the Moscow Literary Club, was run over by a streetcar.
I see.
Good morning.
Hello, you quack.
How old are you?
Go to hell.
Why are you being so disagreeable? Have I said anything to upset you?
I am 23 years old, and I'm going to lodge a complaint against all of you. And you in particular, Ryukin, you louse.
What will your complaint be?
Well, my first complaint will be that your pompous poetry stinks and all that stuff about Mother Russia. And my second complaint will be that you arrested me, a perfectly healthy man, and forcibly dragged me off to a madhouse.
You are not in a madhouse, but in a clinic where no one is going to keep you unless it's absolutely necessary.
Well, thank God for that. Oh, my God, what time is it? Oh, my God, it's getting late, and here I am wasting time talking to you. Telephone, please.
Phone.
Yes, Doctor.
Give me the police. Sergeant, please. Please arrange to send 5 motorcycles with sidecars armed with machine guns to arrest the foreign professor. What? Well, this is Ivan Bezdomny, the poet, and I'm speaking to you from the lunatic asylum. Are you listening? Fools! Look here, Doctor. I'm a perfectly healthy man, and I demand to be let out of here at once. I have to catch the professor.
Splendid, you're right. What's the use of keeping a healthy man in the hospital? I'll discharge you at once if you tell me you're normal. You don't have to prove it. Just say it. Well, Yvonne, are you normal?
I am normal.
Splendid. In that case, let us reason logically, shall we? This evening, while in search of an unknown man who had introduced himself to you as a friend of Pontius Pilate, you did the following. You hung an icon around your neck, right?
Right.
You appeared in a restaurant carrying a lighted candle, wearing only underpants, and you hit someone in the restaurant, right?
Right.
You were tied up and brought here where you rang the police and asked them to send some machine guns, right?
Right.
Right. Now, Yvonne, the question is that the way to go about catching or arresting somebody? Now, if you're normal, you're bound to reply, no. No, it isn't. So, Yvonne, what do you think? Is that the way to go about catching and arresting somebody?
No, it isn't. Oh, God. What am I going to do?
Splendid. Now, I'll tell you what has happened to you. This evening, someone gave you a terrible fright, upsetting you with this story about Pontius Pilate and other things, and so worn out and nerve-wracked, you wandered around town telling everyone you met about Pontius Pilate. Well, quite naturally, people took you for a lunatic. Your only salvation now is complete rest, and you must stay here.
But somebody must arrest him.
Certainly, absolutely, but why should you have to do it? Put down all your suspicions and accusations against this man on a piece of paper. Nothing could be simpler than to send your statement to the proper authorities, and if, as you suspect, the man is a criminal, it will come to light soon enough.
You're right. Please give me paper and a pencil.
All right. Ivana, a short pencil, please.
Yes, Doctor.
Only, Ivan, don't overtax your brain. If you don't get it all quite right today, tomorrow will do.
But he'll get away.
No, I assure you he's not going to get away. We shall help you feel better. Do you hear, Ivan? We're here to help you. Do you hear? We're here to help you, Ivan. Do you hear? We're here to help you. Do you hear, Ivan? We're here to help you. Splendid. Vana, put him in number 117 by himself and with someone to watch him.
Yes, Doctor.
Doctor, is he really ill?
Oh, yes.
Well, what's the matter with him then?
Obviously a complicated case. Schizophrenia, I should think. Touch of alcoholism, too.
What was that he said about some professor?
I expect he saw someone who gave a shock to his disturbed imagination. Either that or he was hallucinating.
Well, thank you, Doctor.
Oh, God. It's true. Yvonne is right. My poetry is bad. My poetry is terrible. Who am I fooling?